Hello everyone. Are you ready for another fabulous Friday idea? I am still playing with embossing, and today I'm going to emboss die cuts. So for my card, I chose Special Moments. This is a retired celebration set, but just a little high for me. Most of my cards I donate and I want them general statements, so I pull from my retired sets a lot. I am using some of the Splendid Autumn DSP. This one has the tree on it. I felt it was good for the die cuts that I'm using. I have a piece of cherry cobbler, and then I have my card base. Now, all of my measurements are on my blog, and the link is below. For my die cuts, I'm using this one from the Cheerful Daisies dies. I use this one a lot. I love this die. And then I chose these leaves from Enduring Beauty dies. So those are my dies that I'm using. I need Versamark ink. I am using Cherry Cobbler ink. I have my tweezers. I'm going to put on a linen bow. And I have my gold embossing powder. I have a scrap piece of paper. I'm gonna kind of set up as I go here. And I have my embossing box and my heat tool. So let me get started. Now, just to let you know, I did do several of the images ahead of time, and I don't know if it's my gold embossing powder or if I overheated it, but it's not very shiny. It might be old, so I may need to dump that and get some new. All right, so I have one more here that I'm going to show you how to do this process. Now, I've got to be careful because I've got all kinds of embossing powder stuck there. I am going to take, and I'm going to use my Versamark, and I'm going to tap this on my leaves. All right. I am going to pick it up with my tweezers, and I'm not too worried about the end because I'll hide that with my twine, my linen thread. And then I'm gonna turn this on. I want it to heat just slightly. And I'm going to melt this powder. I think it's my powder because it's not very shiny just with the first. I'm gonna add some more powder, and I'm gonna go in. I'm going to heat it. So what I'm doing is I'm adding powder, heating it. I'm leaving my heat tool running so it stays hot. All right, you have to kind of work fast. All right. Okay. And I'm doing it several times because I want my image to be kind of thick, and by heat embossing it several times you will get it. I've got to turn this so I can see when it's heated. Yeah, I think my gold has had it. Of course, it might be the gold. It is the Stampin' Up! Gold, and maybe it's just not as shiny. I like a bright gold. All right, I'm going to stop there because I have quite a bit on here. And I'm going to move this stuff out of the way. I'll set that there for it to cool just a little bit. Close this up because I've been known to dump this over, turn this over, and make a mess. I'm going to get rid of this. All right, I'm going to pull in my other pieces. I'm going to take this off. Now, you will get embossing powder on your tweezers, but you can take it off. I just scrape it off and it's fine. I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing it now. All right, and I've got embossing powder on here, and I've got to get my Swiffer out. I don't like that feel. It's gritty. So, there. Oops, I dropped them. And wouldn't you know, one went way underneath. All right, so there's my pieces. I'm going to pull down my card. This piece is going to go on here. The other thing you have to think about is if you have embossing powder on your pieces, it won't stick. And when I say the powder, I'm talking specifically the powder, not the melted. Okay, let's get this on here. I've tried using this with Very Vanilla. It just doesn't look right because there's white in it. So I just stick with the white. Although I think the Very Vanilla would be prettier. So let me get my... All right. This is going to go on here about like that. And I'm going to put the same amount of space on the top, the bottom, and the side. All right. Stuck to me. Well, now it's come off on me. That is some sticky stuff. There. All right, so I'm watching my spacing and getting it as close as I can. All right, so there we have that. Now to put on my leaves, I'm going to use some glue. All right, so I'm going to start with this, and I'm going to put dots of glue in key spots. I'm not worried if it sticks up. It just gives it a little bit of interest. I'll pull in my tweezers and pick it up. And I'm going to kind of go here with this one. All right. And now I'm going to put a block on top of it so that it stays in place. Then I'm going to do this one. And I'll take and remove that block. And I'll add this one here. And I'll put the block back on top for it to grab. I'm going to go back to this one and add some dots. All right. Grab my tweezers. And I'm going to put this here and put my block back on it. Put a little pressure on because it's embossed a lot. It's got a lot of space. All right. Ooh, it's stuck to me. Now let me get this one. And I'm going to put it right about there. All right, I'm going to put this on top. And then to make sure it has some weight, I'm going to add some extra blocks. All right, and while that is doing its thing and sticking down good, I'm going to make my bow. And I'm going to make a multi-loop bow. I haven't done one in a while, but I think they look very nice for fall cards. So I take my linen thread, and I take 2 fingers and I leave myself a tail. I wrap it around once, twice, pull in my 3rd finger once, twice, pull in my 4th finger once, twice. And then I take my scissors and I cut it and I leave a tail. I pull my fingers out, give myself a length of twine, and I take my pieces and I pull them up, and I make kind of like a figure 8. even if it doesn't make the figure 8, it's okay. You want to make it so that you have multi-loops all over. And when you're happy with it, the spacing is pretty good, you take your linen thread and you tie a knot. Now the key here is not to pull it too tight, so if you need to adjust it, you can. And I think I need to pull that one out a little bit. When you're happy, take and tighten your knot and do a second knot. And trim your ends. Now what I do is I pull my ends down and to the back. I try to get my pieces to the back, my tails, and then I'm going to take a glue dot. I'm looking for one that's, I had started, and I'm going to put a glue dot right in the middle of that knot on the back. And I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to take a chance. And with my cherry cobbler, I am going to stamp my sentiment at the top. I'm giving that, my cherry cobbler is very juicy. I need to store it upside down. All right. I left my Versamark open, closed it up. All right. Now, if it's not sticking, you can add more glue, but I'm going to take my bow and I'm going to separate the pieces. So I'm taking each loop, like here's my 2 little ones. I'm taking one and pulling it up, the other one down. Then I'm taking the next 2 loops. That's a big one. I gotta get it. There they are. And I'm gonna pull this, do the same thing with it. Pull one up. I can't get my fingers on that. I get a hold of it and it wants, and one down. And then the same thing with the last 2. So up and down. And then I pinch it. And look at how pretty that bow is. Now I am not worried about how long these pieces are for a number of reasons. Number one, it's linen thread, so when you put it in, it's going to kind of flatten itself back out. All right. Those do not want to stick, so I'm going to hold it just a little bit. Okay. There's today's Fabulous Friday idea. And I pulled in a stamp from the Celebrate Sunflowers. It was about the only leaf that I had, and I stamped the inside in the envelope. I hope you enjoyed today's Fabulous Friday idea, and you'll come back next week to see another embossing idea. Pull out your dies and give it a go. Emboss them several times. They're fun to play with. Have a fabulous Friday. Bye.